become self-employed because the tax rates are garbage. To put it in perspective, gamers, welcome to Starstream, where she talks about taxes. So, you know, if you work for like a company, they take taxes out of your wages before it ever hits your bank account. So you don't feel like you're losing money because you never get to actually see that money. It's taken out of your paycheck before it ever hits your account. So it's not like you're getting money and then you're losing money. So, you know, if you work for a company, it's a little bit easier. However, if you are self-employed, you don't get that benefit. You just have to make sure to put some of your money aside every month to make sure you can pay your taxes at the end of the year. And also, the rate is a lot higher because the US government loves to punish people who don't work for corporations by making them pay a shit ton more in taxes. Guys, a third of my income goes to taxes. It's like 30%. It's ridiculous. So I pay estimated taxes quarterly. Usually you would just like pay all of your taxes at the end of the year, but you can also like say, hey, okay, this is how much I made last year, and based on how much I made last year, this is how much I estimate I'll have to pay this year, and so I'll just pay a fourth of that every 3 months for the next year, and then I'll owe a little bit less or more at the beginning of the next year when I report my taxes. If you take my estimated taxes per year and you divide it up into like a 12-month, like this is about how much I have to put away each month to afford my estimated quarterly taxes, my taxes cost more than my mortgage, and it's not close. It's significantly more. I'm paying more in taxes than I pay on my house every month. Don't be self-employed. I mean, here's the thing. While it is a pain in the ass, I am making a lot more now than I ever did in any of my full-time jobs. So it's, you know, the salty and the sweet mixed together. But oh my God. Oh my God, you guys. I make, like to put it in perspective, I make my first office job out of college. I was paying just enough to have a 1-bedroom apartment to myself, and I was extremely comfortable. I was not making a ton of money. I did not have like a shit ton of expendable income, but I was comfortable and I was okay. I did not have to worry about money every month. That was like my very first job out of college that was not food service, right? I am making 2 to 3 times more than I made at that job doing this, even including the taxes. Even with the taxes taken out, I am still making 2 to 3 times more than I'm making at that very first job. So, you know, I'm good, but like, goddamn though, you know? I'm very grateful. I do very well for myself. I'm not like a bajillionaire or anything, but I make it work, you know? I imagine since you're living in a house rather than a 1-bedroom apartment. Yeah, well, the thing was, is like my house, the mortgage on this house was cheaper than a 1-bedroom apartment in Austin was when I finally moved, because rent prices have skyrocketed in the last like 7-ish years, which is how long ago I had that apartment. I mean, that first apartment was still not cheap, but it was cheap enough that I could afford it reasonably, you know? Some studio apartments are worse than 1-bedrooms for rent. Yeah, it definitely depends on like location and shit, right? Because I work from home and I don't have to worry about commuting, it didn't really matter how close to the city I lived, and so my house is like an hour and a half away from the closest city. Because I didn't need to be close. I don't work in the city, I work from home. I can live anywhere with an internet connection and a post office, right? And so my house was pretty cheap. I mean, cheap, it was still like, you know, but I'm actually hoping to move here in the next couple of months because I can finally afford to actually buy a house closer to the city so I can be closer to stuff. When I bought this house 3 years ago, my brother and I had been sharing an apartment before that. For a 1,100 square feet, 2-bedroom apartment, we were paying like $1,400 a month, I think. We moved into that apartment right before COVID, and then when COVID happened, there was the whole rent freeze. And so they didn't raise our rent for like 2 years. And then when they finally were able, quote unquote, to raise our rent, they bumped it up from $1,400. They wanted to raise it to like $2,500. And we were like, nah, bye. Because we were planning on moving out anyway. My brother was done with his school at that point and was gonna move to closer wherever he ended up getting a job. And then I was hoping to get a house anyway, But we saw that rent price increase and we were like, nah, bye, see ya. Nice knowing you. These apartments are not worth that much. Bye. So yeah, that was like the most gobsmacked I've ever been on the phone. Like, the receptionist lady on the phone was just like, yeah, so, you know, at the end of the year, we'll be raising your rent prices by about $800 a month. Or if you don't want to sign a 1-year lease at that price, we could also raise it to over $1,000 more a month. And I was just like, I'm like on the phone and I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm just like, okay. I'm just like biting my tongue. Yeah, I remember this from the home buying video. Yes. If you have seen the video about me buying my house, you would remember this story. Yeah, so we don't live there anymore. Oh.